Okay, so my client's come in for an eyebrow wax. We've done the consultation, and at the consultation stage I've checked for contraindications to make sure she's suitable for the treatment, and we've also discussed eyebrow shapes. Now, my client regularly has her eyebrows waxed, so she's happy with the shape. She just wants them tidying up the stray hairs that are down here, the fair hairs. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, obviously I've prepared my client, so I've covered her with a piece of couch roll, which will be thrown away at the end of the treatment, and I've made sure she's got a disposable headband on and a hairband to keep her hair out of the way. This is really important because you do not want to be getting wax in your client's hair. Okay, so first of all I'm going to measure my client's eyebrow shape. So the first way I measure is I use an orange stick or an eyebrow pencil to measure from the corner of the nose straight up. This is where my eyebrow should start. So this is about right. The eyebrow does come over here, but my client's happy with the shape, so she doesn't want any extra taken off here. I then measure from the side of the nose through the centre of the pupil, and this is where the arch should be. So this is exactly where my client's arch is. I then measure from the side of the nose to the corner of the eye, and this is where my client's eyebrow should finish. So these brows are a good shape. The space in between the brows should be approximately one eye shape. Sometimes people may like them slightly in a bit more or outwards, depending on the eye shape and how they're creating the face shape. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is make sure my client's comfortable and I've got my PPE on. So I've got my apron, which must always be worn with every waxing treatment, my gloves must be worn for every waxing treatment, and my mask and my visor. To start off with, I'm going to cleanse my client's eyes. I've already given her a proper eye cleanse with eye makeup remover. She didn't need her eyes cleansed, it was just the brows. And then I'm going to spray a cotton pad with some wax prep and cleanse. So this will make sure that the wax sticks correctly to the hair. Just going to place a bit on both pads, and I'm just going to wipe over the brows to make sure they're clean. Otherwise the wax may not stick. Now if you're worried and it's your first time you're doing an eyebrow shape, you can apply barrier cream, so petroleum jelly, around the brows and on the hairs that you don't want to remove. Then the wax won't stick to them. But as a rule, once you're competent and in industry, you need to do it without barrier cream. Okay, so once I've applied that, I'm then ready to check my wax. So my wax temperature, my wax is always placed on between medium and minimum to heat up. We never heat the wax up on max because it would become too hot and then it is difficult to cool the wax down. So I'm going to take my spatula, and first of all I'm going to check the wax temperature on myself by applying a small amount to my wrist, and that feels fine. And I'm then going to ask my client if I can take her wrist and check the wax temperature with my client. Is that temperature okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I'm then going to obviously remove that from myself and my client. So ongoing temperature checks throughout waxing are key because the wax will change temperature. Obviously it depends how full the wax pot is. If there's less wax in the pot, the temperature is likely to change quicker. When using a wax pot, it's important that the wax is kept topped up, because if you're doing something like a leg wax, you don't want to have to be going and getting a new pot of wax and waiting for that to heat up in between clients. Okay, so I've got my wax strips ready, which I have cut small. These are fabric strips and these are paper strips. They work in exactly the same way. It's just preference for the therapist which she prefers. Okay, so I'm going to just use my comb to brush the lashes up so that I can see the hairs that need to be removed. Okay, so now I'm ready to apply my wax. So when I'm working with warm wax, I apply with the direction of the hair growth, so that would be this way, and I take off against, so I would be removing my strip this way. With our spatulas, once we have put wax and put them in the wax pot and remove the hair, we are not then allowed to reuse that one to dip into the wax because of cross-contamination. So I'm going to take a small amount. Do not overload your spatula. So I'm using a small spatula for the eye area. I'm going to ask my client to keep their eyelashes closed, and I'm going to apply my wax with the direction of the hair growth, going as close as I can to the brows, but without touching those I don't want to remove. And then I'm going to take my wax strip and gently apply pressure to bond the strip to the wax. And then when I remove this, the key is to stretch the skin as much as I can, and I'm going to pull back on itself, so not up, I'm going to be pulling back. Okay, and I won't reuse this strip, this bit here, in case that gets stuck into the hairs. So if I'm going to reuse it, I fold and take off. And then again here, it's really important, if your client's got long lashes or their lashes are getting in the way, you're not going to drip any wax into their lashes. So if you need to, you may place a pad over the lashes, but sometimes it's quite difficult because the pad will move, but if you need to, you can apply a pad. Okay, so I've done this bit here. I'm now going to come into the centre. And I'm going to come up to the centre, right to the hairs that need to be removed, and then this side, right there. Now my waxing waste is all contaminated, so it must go into the yellow contamination bin, which is at the end of the salon. So just to say, I'm just stretching up and then pulling back on itself, taking off any excess bits. And then I'm coming to the other side, and I'm just going to do in here, making sure the hairs are brushed up so that I don't trap any of these longer hairs into my wax. And again, then I'm just placing my wax strip on, bonding with gentle pressure across the eye area, stretching, and then off. Now, if there's any hairs that are really close, I can either tweeze them, or if I haven't previously gone over the skin, I could apply another small bit of wax to the area. If the client's brows grow up here, there is an option to wax this area here if you want to. My client likes to have her brows trimmed so that they keep the nice shape. So I'm going to brush these up, and then I'm just going to give them a trim taking my scissors out of Barbicide because they've been sterilising in there, and just wiping them over to make sure that they're not damp. And then I place my stalk scissors at an angle to trim the hairs that way, so that we keep the arch, and to trim them down this way. I will then brush the hairs, and I will do the same on the other side. And then I'm just going to check them over before I tweeze, and then I will soothe the area with soothing gel. So I'm taking my tweezers, and then I'm just going to take out any stray hairs to make sure the shape is tidy, keeping the area stretched and pulling the hair out in the direction of the hair growth. And then I'm going to take a cotton pad, apply some aloe vera gel, which will cool and soothe the area, and apply this to the brows. And I will tell my client that any redness, which is called an erythema, is a natural reaction to waxing, and that this should go down within 24 hours. Once I've got my shape, I will then give my client a mirror and ask her to check, to tell me if she is happy, or if she would like any more off in any other areas. And then once I've finished, I would then again give my client her aftercare advice. So it's really important that she doesn't touch the area or rub the area, because again this could cause further irritation later on. Do not apply any makeup or perfume products to the area, because this could irritate. Obviously the hair follicle is open, we've had trauma to the area, so as much as possible we need to leave it. If they do need to apply anything, it would just be a witch hazel or an aloe vera gel.